around 2019, 2020, Census Bureau came out and showed that the median Black household wealth was about 6% that of the median white household wealth in this country. 6%. Now that's far, far worse than when you look at income or when you look at how much people make per hour. The fact is that there's been almost no wealth transfer happening for a long time. And as I look further into that, I saw studies from some of the Ivy League schools that showed that when you consider all the Black men, working age Black men who don't have a job, you include all of them, that the median Black male income is about 50% that of the median white male income. And it's primarily because such a high percentage of Black men are not in the workforce at all. 1 out of every 5 prime age, working age Black men in this country right now are not in the labor force at all. Between the age of 25 and 55, not in the labor force at all. And because I've done a lot of work on this for 30 years, I know that mass immigration is a part of this. And I wanted to really jump into that and follow what the history has been. The economic historians say that every time that immigration has gone to a high percentage, the incomes of Black males have gone down, and that income disparity, racial disparity, increases. Every time you reduce immigration, the livelihoods of Black families and Black men increase. So, I wanted to put that whole story together. The statistics are there. The historians have it in sort of the cold kind of figures, but I wanted to pull that. It's a 200-year history. Pull it together. Among college-educated Black men, which of course, there's been a huge increase in the college degree portion of Black men since the 60s. And they've done pretty well, but not in some areas like the STEM areas. You got all these historic Black colleges that are turning out computer engineers, et cetera, and they have trouble getting the high-tech firms to hire from the campuses. And why? Because as far as the high-tech firms are concerned, the government makes it much easier to hire from India than from Indianapolis. So that hits them. But the biggest hit is among people without a college degree. And of course, 2/3 of all Americans don't have a college degree. So when you're talking about Americans, you're basically talking about people without college degrees. And so those occupations for every race have been hit hard. But you got to figure that there is still racial discrimination that happens among many employers, and that there's just a tendency that the last people recruited are the descendants of American slavery. And so African Americans, the descendants of American slavery, have always done best. Well, all Americans have done best, but they've really done best in tight labor markets. Immigration it's not the only thing that dictates loose and tight labor markets, but it's something you can control. The government can control how many foreign workers it brings in. And of course, but over the last 3.5 years, there's been virtually no control at all. We've never seen numbers anything like the new foreign workers that have come over the last 3.5 years. There was, during the Trump administration, a significant reduction in illegal workers, and during COVID, there was a significant reduction of legal workers coming in, and you could see it. The labor market tightened, and there was some real improvements for Black Americans. But for most of our history, for the last 50 years, it's like we're back in the Jim Crow days. I mean, back in the late 1800s and early 1900s, in terms of blacks and jobs. Of course, that's a big question. I think there are many, many types of people who are really harmed by high immigration, and you look at whatever group is their group, you're not going to find their leaders, whether it's religious, political, business, whatever, ethnic, that really are not leaders of groups that speak out on immigration, and it's a very sad thing. But in the case of African Americans, uh, you don't have major national leaders. What you have is more and more black leaders in the communities, places like Chicago and Philadelphia and Houston. More and more, you're seeing local black leaders who have their ear on the ground, their eyes on the ground, who are speaking out more and more. But to this point, there seems to be among the black leadership in Congress, for example, a blind eye to what's happening in their communities because of alliances, various political alliances that have been taking place. The kind of the tragic thing is that part of it seems to be that the black leaders feel like they have to make an alliance with Hispanic political leaders, but the fact is that the polls show that majority of Hispanic Americans don't want this high immigration either. It's quite harmful to Hispanic Americans. So you've just right there you've got the Hispanic Congressional Caucus, the Black Congressional Caucus, both working against the economic interests of the less fortunate parts of their ethnic community, and they perhaps get by with it some because of ethnic loyalty. But we're seeing some signs that some of that is cracking, and frankly, at some point, uh, these leaders are going to get left behind because the people in the local communities are going to just stop putting up with national leaders who just insist on flooding their communities with workers that aren't needed, and with people for whom there isn't housing for them. It's a terrible thing happening in those communities. It sounds like hyperbole, but I believe that the evidence is pretty clear that any politician who is concerned about the least fortunate of this country, and particularly the disproportionately large percentage of African Americans, the number one thing they could do for them is to cut annual immigration dramatically and put an end to illegal immigration. Nothing, no single thing would do more for that population of the people than doing that, tightening the labor market, getting people into jobs, everything that means for their lives, their families' lives, their communities' lives. And it can happen quickly. We saw it happen in 1924. The last time Congress cut immigration, they cut it by 2/3. And within a year, the national black leaders and editors of this country were saying, there'd been a kind of a revolution happening in their communities. That's something that political leaders could promise and deliver on, and bring about a wonderful improvement in the lives of millions.
The next step is with you. You have to decide if you want to continue to live in the lifestyle that you're living with the suppression, oppression, depression, and more, or do you want to come out of this? The Democratic Party has put you in this position purposely to replace you with the illegal migrants that have come into our cities to prevent our people from thriving. Basically, try to survive only. It is time to make a change. Make that change now to see improvement in your life and stop believing the lies. This is what has withheld the Black community down forever. And it will continue to until people stop believing lies and look at your lifestyle and see what has changed. If you don't like the way things look, then change it by not allowing this democratic machine to continue to keep you in the position of harm. You will change your lifestyle when you change your outlook.
Down with deportation! Up with education!